Hello friends, this is Mrs. Rankin. Today we are inside and we are thinking about planning for next year's school garden. So there are lots of different ways that we can plan. We can get our soil ready, we can plant cover crop and mulch so that we know that our living soil will continue to maintain its nutrients and its moisture balance. But we also want to think about preparing what we're going to plant in next year's school garden. And I'm interested in this question today. What are some technologies for saving seed? Now, sometimes when we see this word, technologies, we think it means, something that has an on-off switch or something that requires power or electricity in some way. When technologies are really just human-engineered solutions to problems, right? So we're going to think about what are some human-engineered solutions to the problems of saving seed. Well, we know that something that we're going to have to do to save seed is we're going to have to keep it in a dry environment. Moisture is the death of seed because it will start to germinate, and if it doesn't have the right conditions for germinating or sprouting, it will rot. So we want to make sure we have a dry environment. We also want to have a dark environment. We don't want any kind of light to stimulate the growth of the seed until we're ready for that to happen, until it's under the conditions where we want it to sprout. And then we're going to have to separate the seed from the other organic matter in the plant. Sometimes called the chaff. Yeah, so the other bits have dried. But why bother with all this? I mean, here's a packet of seed that I picked up at a local store. Why not just go and buy seed? Why should we save seed? What are some ideas that you might have? Maybe you want to stop the video right now and write down some ideas. Why should we save seed? What do you think about some of the responses to this question? And then join me again when you're ready. Right, so by now you've had some time to reflect on this question. Why save seed? Well, look at that right there, $1.99 for this pack. So already we know we can save money if we save seed. We also know that our plants will better tolerate the conditions. So that might be the conditions of water. That might be the conditions of sun or heat. That might even be the condition of pests, right? Because these plants, if we're saving seed from plants we're already growing in our area, those plants have shown that they were able to thrive and reproduce, to grow flowers. The flowers were pollinated, and the seeds are strong and viable. So we're going to save money. The plants will tolerate conditions, and we can also preserve native and heirloom, so those might be more rare varieties. I made a little mistake on the spelling. We'll switch those letters around. Okay? I'll just write it again. Okay? We can get plants that we might not be able to get. So this morning glory might be native to someplace else, but it's not native to Hawaii. So if we save seeds, we can grow the plants that are native to our place. So we're going to be looking now at this section. So let's just go ahead and slide this down. We're going to be looking at technologies that will help us dry and preserve the seeds in a dark, cool environment and separate the seed from the other organic matter. So let's take some seeds from Pomaikai School. Here's one I think you'll recognize. Do we have it? I bet we do. It's a sunflower. It's quite a large sunflower, actually. Let me grab a ruler, which I should have had before we started. My apologies for not having that ready for you folks. So I'm going to grab that ruler and I'm going to say that from side to side, that's about, can you see that? better than 8 inches from side to side. That's quite, look, I can't even, it's about as wide as my widest shaka hand. So that's quite wide. And what happens is the flower has faded. You can see the petals. And when the flower is really dry, so I picked it when it had already fallen down, when the petals had faded, and then I kept it in my garage, which is dark and dry, for about 2 months. So this has been drying for quite some time. And the reason I didn't leave it outside for that to happen is because the birds would eat all of the seed. So I left one of the flowers out in the field for the birds to enjoy, and now we've gone ahead and picked this one. So now I should be able to just turn it sideways and just use my hand. As you can see, these seeds are just ready to fall out. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So once I have those seeds, that's all there is to it. Let me gather them up. And you can see our sunflower. So that's the seed coat that will have to burst. And the part that you usually eat is inside. I'll go ahead and split that open. I just kind of cracked it with my teeth. And I'll show you the inside part of the seed. So that if you eat sunflower seeds, you're not eating this hard seed coat, right? You're cracking it open. But these haven't been roasted. Like when we get them to eat, they're usually roasted or toasted. That obviously would not be any good for growing. So make sure that you don't have roasted sunflower seeds. They will not sprout. All right, so these seeds now need to be preserved. So I've got a glass jar here where I already put some of them. And let me show you what I've put in the jar. I've put one of these little silica gel packs that I save them from the little containers of seaweed. So they come in some foods to help keep the food fresh and to absorb moisture. So I'm going to pop that right into that jar. I'm going to add these seeds inside there. And I have the top of the jar labeled. These are enormous sunflowers from Pomaikai School. I collected them in April of 2020. Now, I've got a lot more work to do to get all these seeds out. So I will probably fill this jar, and I will be able to make some seed packs for those, which we can do at a later time. But I want to set that off to the side. That's really easy, isn't it? All right, now I'm going to take another pod, another seed pod. So this isn't a dried flower, but this is the fruit of this particular plant, which is the kalamungai, or sometimes we call it the moringai. And this is a very important plant in Southeast Asia. So a lot of our Filipino friends will probably grow this in their yard.